My name is Denise Thompson. I'm 52 years old, and I've been a member of Restoration Hope Missionary Baptist Church for 23 years. I've served on the usher board, led the women's ministry, taught Sunday school, and coordinated more church dinners than I can count. I know the difference between discernment and suspicion. I know the difference between the Holy Spirit whispering and my flesh talking. So when I tell you that something was wrong with First Lady Michelle Turner, I need you to believe me that I didn't want to see it. I didn't go looking for it. I tried to ignore it for as long as I possibly could. But God has a way of making you see what you need to see, even when you'd rather stay blind. It started on a Sunday morning in late September. Nothing dramatic, nothing obvious, just a feeling. I was standing in the foyer greeting people as they arrived for morning service. That's my post every Sunday, has been for years. I know how to read people as they walk through those doors. You can tell who had a good week and who's barely holding it together. You can tell who's coming to worship and who's coming out of obligation. After 2 decades, you develop a sense for these things. First Lady Michelle walked in that morning wearing a cream-colored suit, her hair done perfectly, her makeup flawless. She smiled at everyone, shook hands, asked about people's families. She looked exactly like a pastor's wife should look. Poised, graceful, put together. But when she shook my hand, something flickered in her eyes. Just for a second. A kind of distance. Like she was looking at me, but not really seeing me. Like her body was present, but her mind was somewhere else entirely. I told myself I was imagining things. It was just a split second. Probably nothing. But then she walked past me toward the sanctuary, and I noticed her hands were trembling. Just slightly. Enough that the church bulletin she was holding rustled more than it should have. I watched her make her way to the front pew where she always sat. Watched her settle into her seat, smooth her skirt, arrange her Bible and notebook. Everything looked normal. Everything looked right. But that feeling in my stomach wouldn't go away. That quiet discomfort. That sense that something was off, even though I couldn't name what it was. Let me tell you about First Lady Michelle Turner. She'd been married to Pastor David Turner for 8 years. She'd come to Restoration Hope when they got married, moving here from somewhere down south. Virginia, she'd said once. Or maybe the Carolinas. I realize now I was never quite sure, and she never gave details. She was wonderful. Everyone loved her. She sang in the choir, led the Young Wives Ministry, organized community outreach programs. She was soft-spoken but warm, reserved but friendly. She had this way of making you feel seen without ever really sharing much about herself. She talked about her faith constantly, about how God had brought her through difficult seasons, about the power of prayer and the importance of community. But she rarely shared specific details about her past or her present. When you asked her how she was doing, she'd say, "Blessed and highly favored," and pivot to asking about you. I realize now that I knew almost nothing about Michelle Turner beyond what I saw on Sundays. Pastor Turner adored her. You could see it in the way he looked at her during service, the way he'd reference her in his sermons. "My beautiful wife reminded me this week." He'd say things like that, always praising her, always grateful for her. They seemed like the model couple, the example everyone else wanted to follow. So that morning when I felt that discomfort, I pushed it down. I told myself I was being critical, judgmental, looking for problems where there weren't any. But over the next few weeks, the signs accumulated. Small things. Easy to dismiss individually, but collectively, they created a pattern I couldn't ignore. Like the way Michelle started arriving later and later to Sunday service. Always rushing in right as worship was starting. Always slightly breathless. Always apologizing in whispers to people as she made her way to her seat. Like the way she'd zone out during announcements. I'd watch her from my seat in the choir stand. Her eyes would glaze over. She'd stare at nothing. Then she'd blink rapidly, like she was pulling herself back from somewhere far away. Like the way she started declining invitations. The women's ministry would invite her to events, and she'd say she couldn't make it. Too busy. Other commitments. Family obligations. Always a reason, always polite, but always no. Like the Wednesday evening in early October when I stayed late at church to set up for Thursday's meeting, and I passed the pastor's office. The door was slightly open, and I heard voices. Pastor Turner and Michelle. Not arguing exactly, but tense. His voice low and urgent. "Michelle, you have to talk to me. You have to tell me what's going on. I know something's wrong." Her response was too quiet to hear clearly, but the tone was defensive, dismissive. "I'm fine, David. You're imagining things. I'm just tired." I kept walking. Not my business. Not my place to eavesdrop. But that feeling in my stomach grew stronger. Then, there was the Sunday morning in mid-October, when Sister Patricia, one of our oldest members, pulled me aside after service. "Sister Denise," she said quietly, "can I ask you something?" "Of course, Mother Patricia." She looked around to make sure no one was listening. Then she leaned in close. "Have you noticed anything different about First Lady Michelle lately?" My heart rate picked up. So I wasn't the only one sensing something. "Different how?" I asked carefully. Mother Patricia's expression was troubled. "I can't put my finger on it. She just seems not herself, distracted, absent, thinner too. I've tried to talk to her a few times, but she cuts the conversation short. It's like she's here, but not really here." "I've noticed she seems busy," I offered. Mother Patricia shook her head. "It's more than busy. My spirit has been unsettled about her for weeks now. I've been praying, but I can't shake this feeling that something's wrong. Seriously wrong." We stood there in silence for a moment. Then Mother Patricia squeezed my hand. "Keep her in your prayers, Sister Denise. And keep your eyes open. I think God is trying to show us something." I did keep my eyes open. And what I saw disturbed me more each week. I saw Michelle's weight dropping noticeably, not just a little. Her clothes hung loose on her frame. Her face became gaunt, her collarbones prominent. I saw dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite cover anymore. I saw her hands shaking more frequently, during prayer, during communion. Any time she had to hold something still. I saw her pulling away from people, avoiding conversation, making excuses to leave immediately after service ended. And I saw the way certain people looked at her. Quick glances, knowing looks, like they'd seen something or heard something but weren't saying what. Sister Janet, who worked at the hospital. Brother Marcus, who drove a cab at night. Deacon William's wife Sharon, who worked at the county clerk's office. They'd watch Michelle with expressions I couldn't quite read. Not judgment exactly. Something more like recognition. Or maybe pity. One Sunday in early November, I was arranging flowers in the sanctuary before service when I overheard Deacon Williams talking to another deacon in low voices near the baptismal pool. "I'm telling you, I saw her," Deacon Williams was saying. "Last Tuesday night, downtown on Franklin Street near the old warehouse district, around 11:30. I almost didn't recognize her at first because she looked so different." "You sure it was her?" the other deacon asked. "Positive." I slowed down to make sure. She was standing on the corner, talking to some guy I recognized from back when I worked narcotics. When she saw my cab, she turned and walked away, real fast. Real fast. "A dealer?" "Yeah. I'm pretty sure." What else would she be doing there at that hour talking to someone like that? "Did you tell Pastor?" Man, what am I supposed to say? That I saw his wife downtown in the middle of the night in an area known for drug dealing? I don't even want to think about what that means, but I've been watching her at church since then, and something's definitely not right. They fell silent when they noticed me. Changed the subject immediately. But I stood there with my hands frozen on the flower arrangement, my mind racing. Franklin Street, the warehouse district, a known dealer, at 11:30 at night. Oh God. Was Michelle using drugs? I didn't want to believe it. Couldn't believe it. But suddenly everything made sense. The weight loss, the tremors, the dilated pupils I'd noticed a few times, the way she'd disappear to the bathroom multiple times during service, the paranoia, the secrecy. No, it couldn't be. Not First Lady Michelle Turner, not the pastor's wife. But that feeling in my spirit said yes. Yes, that's exactly what this is. That afternoon, during the women's ministry meeting, I watched Michelle more carefully. Really watched. Her leg bounced constantly under the table, nervous energy she couldn't contain. She kept checking her phone, compulsively, every few minutes. She bit her nails until they bled. When Sister Regina asked her a direct question about the upcoming retreat, Michelle stared at her blankly for several seconds before saying, "I'm sorry." "What?" She hadn't been listening at all. I tried to engage her in conversation after the meeting. Really tried. I asked her how her week had been. She said fine. I asked if she needed prayer for anything specific. She said no, just general strength and wisdom. I asked if she wanted to grab coffee sometime, just the two of us. She said she'd love to, but her schedule was so unpredictable right now. Could we plan it another time? Every question met with a polite deflection. Every invitation met with a gentle refusal. Sister Patricia caught my eye across the room. Her expression said what I was thinking. Something is very wrong here. The week after Thanksgiving, Michelle missed Sunday service entirely. Pastor Turner made an announcement. First Lady Michelle was feeling under the weather, asked us to keep her in prayer. Nothing serious, just needed rest. But his face told a different story. He looked exhausted, worried, aged 10 years overnight. The following Sunday, Michelle was back. But she'd changed again, this time more noticeably. Her hair was different, pulled back severely. Her makeup was heavier, like she was trying to cover something. Her clothes were looser. She moved differently with less grace and more agitation. She kept her sunglasses on even inside the building, taking them off only when service started. She kept checking her phone during service, constantly. Every few minutes, she'd glance down at her purse where her phone must have been, like she was expecting a call or message she couldn't miss. During altar call, Pastor Turner invited anyone struggling with secret burdens to come forward for prayer. I watched Michelle from the choir stand. Watched her grip the pew in front of her until her knuckles went white. Watched her jaw clench. Watched her eyes squeeze shut. But she didn't move. Didn't go forward. Just sat there rigid and trembling while others went up for prayer. After service, I decided to be direct. I approached her in the fellowship hall where she was standing alone by the coffee table, staring at nothing. "First Lady Michelle," I said gently. "Are you okay?" She blinked and turned to me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Of course, Sister Denise. Just a little tired. It's been a long few weeks. Is there anything you need? Anything I can do to help?" No, I'm fine. Really. Just need to get more rest." "You know you can talk to me if you need to," I pressed. "Whatever it is, I'm here." For a moment, I thought she might break. I saw something flicker across her face, fear maybe, or desperation. Her mouth opened like she was going to say something real, something true. But then Pastor Turner appeared at her elbow. "There you are, honey. Ready to go?" The moment broke. Michelle's expression went blank again, polite, distant. "Yes," she said. "Let's go home." They left together, Pastor Turner's hand on the small of her back. But there was no warmth in the gesture. It looked more like he was making sure she went where he needed her to go. Like he was afraid she might bolt if he didn't stay close. I went home that day with a heavy heart. I prayed for hours that evening. Asked God to show me what was happening. Asked him to protect Michelle from whatever she was facing. Asked him to give me wisdom to know if I should say something or stay silent. The only answer I got was that persistent feeling in my gut, that sense that something was deeply, fundamentally wrong, and it was getting worse. December arrived. The church was busy with Christmas preparations, pageants to rehearse, decorations to hang, food drives to coordinate. In all the activity, it was easy to lose track of individuals, easy to let concerns slip away in the chaos of the season. But I couldn't stop watching Michelle. And what I saw scared me. She'd lost even more weight, dangerously thin now. Her clothes hung on her like she was a child wearing an adult's outfit. Her skin had a grayish tone. Her eyes were hollow, sunken. She missed multiple services now. Pastor Turner would make announcements. First Lady is ministering at another church. First Lady is visiting family. First Lady is taking some time for personal spiritual retreat. But the way he said it sounded like he was trying to convince himself as much as us. His voice would crack slightly. His eyes would get watery. And the people who seemed to know something, Their looks were getting more pointed, more concerned, more knowing. I ran into Sister Janet from the hospital in the grocery store 2 days before Christmas. We made small talk in the produce section. Then she looked around and said quietly, "Sister Denise, are you close with First Lady Michelle?" "I don't know if anyone is," I admitted. "She keeps to herself." "Why?" Sister Janet bit her lip. "I work in the ER. I probably shouldn't say anything. Patient confidentiality and all. But if you get a chance to talk to her, really talk to her, please try. She needs help, real help, professional help." My heart sank. "Has she been to the ER?" Sister Janet looked around again, then said very quietly, "Twice in the past month, both times late at night, both times for complications related to substance use. Nothing life-threatening, thank God, but serious enough that we had to monitor her for several hours. Pastor Turner brought her both times. He's trying to help her, but she's not ready to accept help yet. And I'm afraid of what might happen if she doesn't get into treatment soon." She squeezed my arm and walked away, leaving me standing there holding a head of lettuce with tears running down my face. So it was true. Michelle was using. And it was bad enough that she'd overdosed. Twice. Christmas Eve service was beautiful. The sanctuary was decorated with poinsettias and white lights. The choir sang, "O Holy Night," so powerfully that half the congregation was in tears. Pastor Turner preached about Jesus coming as light into darkness, about hope breaking through despair. Michelle sat in the front pew through all of it, perfectly still, perfectly silent, like a statue. I watched her from the choir stand, watched her not sing along with the hymns, watched her not bow her head during prayer, watched her stare straight ahead with empty eyes while everyone around her celebrated the birth of Christ. Her hands were shaking so badly she had to clasp them together in her lap to hide it. And I knew, with absolute certainty, she was in active addiction, probably high right now, or coming down, or desperately needing her next dose. After service, people gathered in the fellowship hall for cookies and hot chocolate. I positioned myself near the door where I knew Michelle would have to pass if she tried to leave quickly. Sure enough, within 10 minutes, she appeared, alone, moving fast toward the exit. "First Lady Michelle," I called out. "Merry Christmas." She stopped, turned, tried to smile. "Merry Christmas, Sister Denise. I haven't seen much of you lately. I've missed you at the women's meetings. I know, I'm sorry. I've just been dealing with some things. Anything you want to talk about?" She looked at me for a long moment. And in that moment, I saw her. Really saw her. Not the image, not the persona, but the woman underneath. And she was drowning, dying right in front of all of us. "I don't think I can," she whispered. "You can," I said firmly. "Whatever it is, you can tell someone. You can get help." Tears filled her eyes. "You don't understand. It's not that simple. I've tried. I keep trying, but I can't stop. I can't." "Can't stop what, Michelle?" But Pastor Turner appeared before she could answer, like he'd been watching, waiting. "Michelle, we need to go," he said. His tone was gentle but firm. "Now." Michelle's tears disappeared. Her face went blank again. "Of course. Let's go." I watched them leave together. Watched the way she walked slightly ahead of him, like she was trying to get away, but knew she couldn't. Watched the way he followed close behind, protective and controlling at the same time. I went home and prayed through most of the night. I knew something had to break. The situation couldn't continue like this. Michelle was deteriorating rapidly. Everyone could see it, but no one seemed to know what to do. The Sunday after Christmas, Michelle didn't come to church at all. Pastor Turner made an announcement during service, and this time he looked completely broken. First Lady Michelle was taking an extended leave of absence for health reasons. She would not be at church for the foreseeable future. He asked us to respect their privacy and keep her in prayer. His voice cracked on the last word, and he had to pause to compose himself before continuing with the service. The church rallied, of course. We sent cards. We offered to bring meals. We organized a prayer chain. But Pastor Turner declined everything. Said Michelle needed complete quiet and rest. Said he'd let us know when she was ready for contact. Weeks passed. January arrived. We saw nothing of Michelle. Pastor Turner continued preaching every Sunday, continued leading the church, but he looked haggard, stressed, like he wasn't sleeping or eating. He'd lost weight too. His suits hung loose, his eyes were red-rimmed. After service one Sunday in mid-January, I worked up the courage to approach him directly. "Pastor Turner," I said carefully, "how is First Lady Michelle doing?" His smile was strained and didn't reach his eyes. "She's getting the help she needs. It's a difficult journey, but we're trusting God. Is there anything specific we can be praying for?" He hesitated, then said quietly, "Pray for complete healing. Pray for truth to come to light in a way that brings freedom. Pray for strength to face whatever needs to be faced, and pray for this church to respond with grace when the truth is finally revealed." That was an odd thing to say, when the truth is finally revealed. What truth? Was he preparing us for something? "Pastor, if there's something we need to know, something that would help us support you both better, there will be a time for that." He cut me off gently. "But right now, Michelle needs privacy to focus on her healing. When she's ready, when we're both ready, we'll share more. Just please keep praying. That's all I can ask." He walked away before I could say anything else. His shoulders slumped like he was carrying the weight of the world. That night, I had a vivid dream. I was standing outside a building with a sign that said, "Crossroads Recovery Haven," and I was calling Michelle's name, but she couldn't hear me. She was inside the building, but she looked different, wearing plain clothes, no makeup. Her hair natural, a different version of herself. And when I woke up, the sense that God was trying to show me something was overwhelming. The dream stayed with me for days. The name of the place, Crossroads Recovery Haven. It felt specific, real, like God was giving me an address. I spent a week debating what to do. Was I being led by the Spirit or driven by curiosity? Was I supposed to act on this or let it go? Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. I looked up Crossroads Recovery Haven online. It was real, a residential treatment facility on the east side of town, specialized in addiction recovery. And I knew, without a doubt, that's where Michelle was. I drove there on a Thursday afternoon in late January. I told myself I was just going to see if she was there, just going to make sure she was okay. I wouldn't bother her if she didn't want to be bothered. I just needed to know. The facility was a modest 2-story building in a quiet neighborhood. There was a small garden area out front with benches, and sitting on one of those benches, smoking a cigarette, was a woman who looked like Michelle Turner, but also didn't. She was much thinner than I'd ever seen her. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, no styling. She wore jeans and a plain sweatshirt, no makeup, no jewelry. She looked younger and older at the same time, more vulnerable, more real, more broken. I pulled into the parking lot and sat in my car for a long moment, watching her, debating whether to approach or drive away. She looked up and saw me, and our eyes locked. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she stood up slowly, dropped her cigarette, and walked over to my car. I rolled down the window, my heart pounding. "Sister Denise," she said. Her voice was hoarse, raw, different from the polished tones I was used to. "Michelle." She laughed bitterly. "That's not my name." "Well, it is now, but it wasn't always. It's complicated." My heart sank. "What do you mean?" She looked around, then said, "Can you come inside? There's a visitor's room. I think it's time someone knew the whole truth." I followed her into the building. We signed in at the front desk, and she led me to a small room with comfortable chairs and soft lighting, the kind of room designed for difficult conversations. We sat down facing each other. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then, Michelle took a deep breath and began. "My name is Monica Lewis. Michelle is my middle name, and Turner is David's last name, so Michelle Turner is technically who I am now. But for the first 30 years of my life, I was Monica Lewis, and Monica Lewis is an addict." I opened my mouth, but she held up her hand. "Please, let me tell the whole story. I need to say it all at once, or I won't be able to say it at all." I nodded. I started using when I was 17 years old. Prescription pills at first, then heroin, then whatever I could get my hands on. I was a full-blown addict by the time I was 20. I spent the next 11 years in and out of addiction, using, getting clean for a few months, relapsing, using again. It was a cycle I couldn't break. She paused, her hands trembling. Not from drugs now, I realized. From emotion. When I was 28, I hit rock bottom. I'd lost everything. My family had cut me off. I was homeless. I was dying. And someone from a church outreach program found me and got me into a long-term treatment facility. It saved my life. I got clean, really clean. Stayed in a sober living house for 2 years. Went to meetings every day. Got a job. Built a life. And then you met David, I said quietly. And then I met David, she confirmed. I was 30 years old and I'd been clean for 2 years. He was volunteering at a community event and we just connected. He was kind. He was patient. He listened to my story and he didn't run. He said God had redeemed me, that my past didn't define my future, that we could build something beautiful together. When did you relapse? Her face crumpled. About a year ago. It started small, a pill here and there when the stress got too much. Being first lady, it's so much pressure. Everyone expects you to be perfect, to have it all together, to be an example. And I tried so hard, I really did. But I was white-knuckling my sobriety. I wasn't working my program anymore. I stopped going to meetings because I was afraid someone from church would see me there. I stopped being honest with my sponsor. I started living 2 lives. Michelle Turner on Sundays and Monica Lewis the rest of the week, and Monica was struggling. Bad. So you started using again. So I started using again, she whispered. Just to get through the week, just to cope with the pressure, but it escalated quickly. Within 6 months, I was using daily. Within 9 months, I'd overdosed twice. David found me both times, brought me to the ER, begged me to get help. But I kept saying I could handle it, kept saying I'd stop on my own, kept lying to him and to myself. What changed? Christmas Eve, she said. I was so high during service that I couldn't even follow what was happening. I kept thinking I was going to pass out right there in the front pew, and when I got home, David told me he couldn't do it anymore. He said either I went into treatment immediately or he was going to tell the church everything and ask them to pray for me publicly. He said he loved me too much to watch me die, and he loved our church too much to keep lying to them. So you came here. So I came here. He brought me the day after Christmas. I've been here for 4 weeks now. This is an 8-week program. I have 4 more weeks to go. 4 weeks here, 4 more to go. That made sense now. The timeline fit. And then what? I asked. And then David and I have to decide what happens next. If I go back to Restoration Hope, or if we find a different church. If I try to be First Lady again, or if I step down. If we stay married, or if the lies and the pain have done too much damage. Do you want to go back? Part of me never wants to set foot in that church again, she admitted. I'm so ashamed, so embarrassed. Everyone's going to know that I'm an addict, that I lied, that I was high during services, that I stole money from our joint account to buy drugs, that I've been living a double life for a year. But another part of you, I prompted. Another part of me knows that's exactly where I need to be. Honest, broken, real, not pretending to be perfect First Lady Michelle, just being Monica, an addict in recovery who needs grace and community and accountability. We sat in silence for a moment. Then I asked the question I'd been wondering about since Deacon Williams' conversation. What were you doing on Franklin Street that night in November? The night Deacon Williams saw you? She closed her eyes. Buying. I knew a dealer who worked that corner. I'd been there enough times that he recognized me. When I saw Deacon Williams's cab, I panicked. I knew if he told David or told anyone at church, everything would come out. So I ran. Did he tell anyone? I don't think so. But after that night, I could feel people watching me more closely, like they knew something was wrong, but weren't sure what. And it made me more paranoid, more careful, more secretive, which just made everything worse. The hospital visits? Both times I took too much and David found me unresponsive. Both times he rushed me to the ER. Both times Sister Janet was working. I saw the recognition in her eyes, the pity, the concern. But she didn't say anything to me directly. Patient confidentiality. But I knew she knew. And I knew she was probably watching me at church after that. I reached across and took her hands. They were cold and trembling. "Monica," I said firmly, "you're not a bad person. You're a sick person trying to get well. Addiction is a disease. It doesn't make you a hypocrite. It makes you human." Tears spilled down her cheeks. But I lied to everyone. For a year. I stood in front of the church every Sunday, pretending to have it together while I was falling apart every other day. "You were trying to survive," I said. "You were trying to protect yourself in an environment that maybe wasn't safe enough for you to be honest about your struggle. But what about all the people I let down? What about the young women I was supposed to be mentoring? What about the example I was supposed to be setting? You can't be an example of something you're not," I said gently. "But you can be an example of what it looks like to fight, to get help, to choose recovery even when it costs you everything. That's a more powerful testimony than pretending to be perfect ever was." She leaned forward and sobbed. Deep, wrenching cries that sounded like years of pressure releasing all at once. I moved to sit beside her and wrapped my arms around her. Let her cry into my shoulder. Didn't try to fix it or stop it. Just held her while she broke. Finally, when the tears slowed, she pulled back and wiped her face. "Will you tell the church?" she asked. "About me? I know I should do it myself eventually, but I'm not strong enough yet. And I think people deserve to know the truth instead of just wondering what's wrong with me. I think that's something you and David need to decide together," I said carefully. "But when you're ready, when you both decide it's time, I'll stand with you. We all will. I hope you're right. I am. Our church isn't perfect, but we know how to love broken people. Because we're all broken. You just had the courage to admit it out loud." I visited Monica 3 more times during the rest of her treatment. Each time she seemed a little stronger, a little more at peace, a little more like the real version of herself instead of the performed version. David visited her every day. They did couples counseling, individual therapy. They worked through the lies and the hurt and the betrayal. It wasn't pretty, but it was honest. 8 weeks after she'd entered the program, Monica completed her treatment. She and David spent another week in intensive outpatient therapy and meetings with their individual counselors. And then, 9 weeks after Christmas, Pastor Turner called a special meeting for the church leadership. Deacons, ministry heads, elders, long-serving members like me. About 30 people total. We gathered in the fellowship hall on a Tuesday evening. Pastor Turner stood before us, looking more vulnerable than I'd ever seen him. "Thank you all for coming," he began. His voice was shaky. "I need to tell you something about my wife, something we should have been honest about a long time ago. But we were afraid of judgment, afraid of losing respect, afraid of hurting the church. So we tried to handle it privately, and in doing so, we made everything worse." He took a deep breath. "My wife's name is Monica Lewis Turner. Most of you know her as Michelle. That's her middle name, and she started using it when we got married because she wanted a fresh start. But her real name, the name she was born with, is Monica. And Monica is a recovering addict." The room was completely silent. "Monica started using drugs when she was 17 years old," he continued. "She struggled with addiction for 11 years before getting clean at age 28. When I met her, she'd been sober for 2 years. She told me her whole story, and I told her it didn't matter, that God had redeemed her, that we'd face whatever came together." He paused, and I could see tears in his eyes. "We were married for 7 years, and she stayed clean the whole time. She worked her program. She went to meetings. She was honest. She was healthy. But about a year ago, the pressure of being First Lady became too much. She stopped working her program, stopped being honest, started using again. And I didn't know how to help her. I tried everything, but she kept sinking deeper and deeper until finally she overdosed twice in 1 month. Mother Patricia gasped. Others murmured in shock. "On Christmas Day, I gave her an ultimatum," Pastor Turner said. "Get help immediately, or I would tell all of you and ask you to pray for her publicly, because I loved her too much to watch her die, and I loved this church too much to keep lying about why my wife was deteriorating right in front of you." "So she went into treatment," he continued. "She completed an 8-week residential program. She's been out for a week now, and she's doing well. But she's not First Lady Michelle anymore. She's Monica, an addict in recovery. And if that's not acceptable to this church, if you can't handle having a pastor whose wife is in recovery, then maybe we need to find a different church." The room remained silent for a long moment. Then Mother Patricia stood up. "Pastor Turner," she said, her voice strong and clear, "thank you for trusting us with this. Thank you for finally being honest. And tell Monica that this church loves her. Not First Lady Michelle, Monica. The real woman who's been fighting a battle we didn't even know about. Tell her we're here. We're not going anywhere, and we're ready to support her, however she needs." One by one, others stood and echoed her words. "We love Monica. We're here for both of you. Thank you for trusting us. This doesn't change anything except making us love you more for being real." Not everyone responded well. A few people were angry, felt deceived, questioned whether Pastor Turner should continue leading if he'd hidden something so significant for so long. But the vast majority understood, recognized that we'd created an environment where the pastor's wife had to be perfect, had to have it all together, had to be an example. And in doing so, we'd made it impossible for her to be honest about her struggle. 2 weeks later, on a Sunday morning in April, Monica came back to church, not as First Lady Michelle Turner, in a designer suit and perfect hair and polished image, as Monica Lewis Turner, wearing simple black pants and a modest blouse, hair pulled back naturally, minimal makeup, looking terrified and brave at the same time. Pastor Turner called her up to the platform. She stood beside him, her hand in his, shaking visibly. "This is my wife, Monica," he said to the congregation. His voice was thick with emotion. "Some of you have known her as Michelle for the past 8 years, but we're done with performance. We're done with pretending. From now on, she's just Monica, a woman in recovery, a woman who struggles, a woman who needs the same grace we all need. And if that's not acceptable to you, if you need your pastor's wife to be perfect, then maybe you need a different church, because we're done hiding." The sanctuary was absolutely silent. Then Mother Patricia stood up, started clapping, slow and steady. Sister Janet stood and joined her. Deacon Williams and his wife stood. One by one, the entire congregation rose to their feet, not applauding perfection, applauding courage, applauding truth, applauding the bravery it takes to show up as your real self in a world that demands performance. Monica's face crumpled. She covered it with her hands and sobbed. Pastor Turner wrapped his arms around her and held her while the church stood and applauded and cried with them. It was one of the most holy moments I've ever witnessed in my 23 years at Restoration Hope. When the applause finally died down, Monica stepped up to the microphone. Her voice was shaky but clear. "My name is Monica Lewis Turner," she said, "and I'm an addict in recovery. I've been clean for 74 days, and I can't promise you I'll always be clean. Addiction is something I'll fight for the rest of my life, but I can promise you I'll be honest. I'll be real, and I'll stop pretending to be someone I'm not." She looked out at the congregation with tears streaming down her face. "For the past year, I've been living 2 lives, First Lady Michelle on Sundays and Monica the addict every other day, and trying to keep those 2 worlds separate almost killed me. Literally. I overdosed twice. I lied to my husband. I lied to all of you. I stood up here and led worship and organized events while I was high or coming down or desperately trying to score. And I'm so sorry." She paused to wipe her eyes. "But I'm not sorry anymore for being an addict. Addiction is a disease. It's not a moral failing. It's not a lack of faith. It's a medical condition that requires treatment and support and grace. And if this church can't offer that, if you need me to be ashamed of who I am, then I can't be here." Mother Patricia stood up again. "Baby girl," she said loudly, "nobody here needs you to be ashamed. We need you to be honest. And that's what you're doing. So you keep doing it. And we'll keep loving you. Because that's what church is supposed to be. A place for broken people to find healing." "Amen," someone shouted. "Tell it," someone else called out. And just like that, the ice broke. People started calling out encouragement, sharing their own struggles, admitting their own brokenness. "I'm an alcoholic, 10 years sober. I struggled with depression for years and hid it because I was afraid of what people would think. I have an eating disorder, still fighting it." One by one, people started being honest, started admitting that they weren't perfect either, started recognizing that we'd all been performing, all trying to look good instead of being real. And Monica's courage to be honest gave everyone else permission to be honest too. The church changed after that day. Not overnight, but gradually, steadily. We became less polished, less perfect, but more authentic, more grace-filled, more like what church is supposed to be. Monica doesn't lead ministries anymore. She can't. She's too busy working her recovery, meetings every day, therapy twice a week, sponsor check-ins. She's honest about her capacity and her limits, but she shows up, sits in the congregation, worships with her whole heart. And her presence, her honesty, her willingness to be broken in public, it means more than any polished leadership ever did. She shares her story now, speaks at recovery meetings, talks to young people about the dangers of addiction, mentors other women in recovery. She's not hiding anymore, not pretending, not performing. She's just Monica, an addict in recovery, a pastor's wife who's figuring out what that means, a woman learning to live in truth instead of shame. Pastor Turner is different too, more humble, more transparent about his own struggles and doubts, more willing to admit when he doesn't have answers, more human. They're not the perfect pastoral couple anymore, but there's something better. They're real people working through real issues with a real God who meets them in their real mess. I think about those months of sensing something was wrong, of watching Monica deteriorate while not knowing how to help, of feeling that spiritual unease that I couldn't explain. God was preparing me, showing me just enough to make me pay attention, making me uncomfortable so I'd be ready when the truth finally came. He wasn't trying to make me judge Monica. He was trying to make me see her, really see her, so that when she finally showed her real self, I'd recognize that I'd been watching her fight all along. Sometimes God removes blindfolds slowly, lets you see glimpses, lets the questions build, lets the discomfort grow, not to torture you, but to prepare you. Because truth, when it finally comes, is mercy. It's freedom. It's the beginning of real healing. Monica was the pastor's wife on Sunday, but nobody knew who she was Monday through Saturday. Now we know. And it's made all the difference. Not because we're glad she struggled, but because we're honored that she trusted us with her truth. And we're grateful that her honesty gave us permission to stop pretending too. God sees everything, even what we try to hide, especially what we try to hide. And in His perfect timing, He brings it all to light, not to shame us, but to free us. If you're watching this and you've ever felt that quiet discomfort in your spirit about someone or something, I want you to know you're not imagining it. That's God trying to get your attention. That's the Holy Spirit giving you information you need. Don't ignore it. Don't dismiss it. Pay attention. Pray. Be ready to respond with grace when truth finally comes to light. Because when God removes blindfolds, it's never to shame. It's always mercy. It's always love. It's always leading toward truth that sets us free. Hit that like button if this story spoke to you. If you've ever experienced God warning you quietly about something before it fully came to light. If you've ever been Monica, hiding and struggling and afraid to be honest. Drop a comment sharing how God has used spiritual discernment in your life. How have you experienced that quiet knowing that something was wrong? How did you respond? What did you learn? And please subscribe to this channel for more real, honest stories about faith and struggle and grace in the Black church community. We're done with performance. We're telling the truth, the messy, beautiful, redemptive truth about what it means to be broken people serving a God who heals. God bless you. Stay discerning, stay compassionate, and trust that when God shows you something, He's preparing you to be part of the healing,